Hello friends and family, today's topic is there are giants in space and inside the Earth. Let's begin. In a quiet, unassuming town where the air had the scent of freshly baked bread and the murmur of contented voices, there lived a young girl named Luna. She was known for her wild imagination and her unruly, fiery red hair that matched the color of the setting sun. Each evening, as the light grew soft and shadows danced along the cobblestone streets, she would sit in her room, her nose buried in a book of adventures from far-off lands. Her eyes, a brilliant shade of green, would dart back and forth as she devoured the tales of heroes and mysteries. One night, as Luna lay in her bed, her mind racing with the images of her favorite characters, she fell into a deep sleep. The room grew dark, and the stars outside her window twinkled like 1,000 tiny candles. But unlike any other night, she found herself in a dream so vivid it was almost tangible. In this dream, she was floating in the vast emptiness of space, surrounded by a fleet of UFOs. They were unlike anything she had ever seen in her books, sleek and metallic, with lights that pulsed in patterns she could almost understand. Her heart raced with excitement and fear as she reached out to touch the nearest one, her hand passing through the cold, unyielding surface. Inside, she saw giants, being so tall they had to hunch to fit within the confines of the spacecraft. Their eyes were like twin moons, glowing with a gentle curiosity that belied their monstrous forms. They were unlike any humans she had ever encountered, with skin that shimmered like the stars and limbs that stretched out like tree branches. They spoke in a language she could not comprehend, yet she felt an odd kinship with them. They were travelers, like the heroes in her books, but from a world beyond her wildest imaginings. As Luna watched them, one of the giants noticed her. It paused in its work, a massive hand hovering over a control panel covered in symbols she could not decipher. It studied her with a tilted head, the same way she studied the bugs in her backyard. Slowly, it reached out a hand that could easily envelop her entire body. Luna didn't pull away. Instead, she felt a strange warmth radiate from its fingertips, and she knew that she was not in danger. The giant's touch was gentle, almost tender. It lifted her through the UFO's barrier, and she found herself floating before them. The room grew silent as all the giants turned to look at her. They whispered among themselves in their alien tongue, their voices like the rustling of leaves in a gentle breeze. Then, the one who had brought her in gestured to the others, and they parted to reveal an open hatch at the far end of the spacecraft. It led to a tunnel that descended into darkness. Luna felt a sudden, overwhelming urge to follow, as if she had been invited on an adventure she could not refuse. Her heart pounding in her chest, she floated toward the opening, the gravity seemingly non-existent in this dreamscape. The tunnel stretched on, a conduit of pure blackness that swallowed the light. Yet she was not afraid. Instead, she felt a thrill of anticipation, as if she was about to discover something extraordinary. As she moved deeper into the abyss, the walls began to glow with a faint, bioluminescent light, illuminating the path ahead. The walls of the tunnel were not metal, as she had first thought, but a smooth, organic substance that pulsed with life. It was warm to the touch, and she felt a strange comfort in its embrace. Eventually, she emerged into a vast chamber, the size of which defied description. The floor was made of the same living material as the walls, and it stretched out as far as she could see, undulating gently like the surface of a calm sea. In the center of the room stood a colossal tree, its branches reaching up into an unseen ceiling, covered in a canopy of leaves that shimmered with every color of the rainbow. Beneath it, a group of the giants had gathered, and they watched her approach with a mix of awe and wonder. The giant that had first noticed her took her to the tree's base, and she felt a strange sensation, like a whisper in the back of her mind. It was as if the tree was speaking to her, though she heard no words. It was more a feeling, a gentle nudge, guiding her to climb its mighty trunk. Despite her initial hesitation, she found herself doing just that. Her bare feet and hands easily found purchase on the textured bark, and she ascended, her heart racing with every step. As she climbed higher, the branches grew denser, and she saw that the leaves were not leaves at all, but rather screens of light, flickering with images of distant galaxies and swirling nebulae. Each step brought her closer to the tree's heart, where a chamber had been carved out, adorned with artifacts from civilizations long forgotten. The room was filled with a warm, golden glow, and she knew that she had arrived at her destination. The giant that had guided her stepped aside, and she entered the chamber alone. In the center sat an ancient device, a sphere of crystal and metal that hummed with power. The whispers grew louder, more insistent. They told her of a secret hidden deep within the earth, a place where giants like these had once roamed freely, a place now in peril, in need of protection from unseen forces. With trembling hands, Luna reached out to touch the sphere. The moment her skin met the cool crystal, a flood of images and emotions overwhelmed her. She saw a world of endless caverns and underground oceans, of creatures that shimmered and sang. And she felt the fear and the pain of the giants, the loss of their home, and the burden of a quest they could not complete without her. The whispers grew into a cacophony, and she realized the sphere was a map, a key to the hidden realm beneath her world. The images grew clearer, revealing an intricate network of tunnels that led to a chamber where the very essence of the Earth's power was stored. It was this power that the unseen forces sought to claim, and it was her destiny to prevent it. Luna took a deep breath, her heart hammering in her chest. This was no mere dream, it was a calling. The giant beside her placed a hand on her shoulder, and she felt a surge of strength and knowledge flow through her. It was as if she had been chosen. Imbued with the wisdom of the ancients and the courage of the giants, she now called her friends. The sphere's light grew brighter, and she knew what she had to do. With a nod to her new ally, she began her descent from the tree, each branch guiding her down like a ladder of fate. As she reached the chamber floor, the giants parted once more, creating a path to the hatch she had entered from. The gravity grew stronger, pulling her back to reality, but she knew she could not leave without accepting her quest. The giant spoke to her now, its voice deep and resonant in her mind. It told her that she would be sent to the hidden entrance, where she would face trials that would test her bravery and wit. The Earth's core was in danger, and only one with a heart as pure as hers could prevent the calamity that loomed. Luna felt a mix of fear and excitement. She had always dreamt of real adventure, and now it was knocking on her doorstep. As she reached the end of the tunnel, she saw a small, round pod waiting for her. It was unlike anything she had ever seen, but somehow it felt familiar. The giant gently placed her inside, and the pod's door sealed with a hiss. The walls of the pod began to pulse with the same bioluminescent light she had seen in the tunnel. The pod descended rapidly, and the pressure built around her. Her ears popped, and she felt the weight of untold kilometers of Earth above her. The pod's descent was smooth, and she remained calm, knowing she was in the hands of the giants. The light grew dimmer, and she could feel the heat of the Earth's core growing closer. Suddenly, the pod jolted to a stop, and the door slid open, revealing a vast cavern, lit by the same glowing trees she had seen in her dream. The air was thick with the scent of minerals and the faint scent of something ancient, like the pages of an old book that had not seen the light of day in centuries. As she stepped out, the floor was surprisingly firm and warm, almost welcoming. The giants had vanished, but she knew they were watching over her. The whispers grew faint as she took her first steps into the unknown, the gravity of her task weighing heavily upon her. Luna looked around the cavern, her eyes adjusting to the dim light. The walls were covered in intricate carvings that told a story of a world long lost. The images spoke of battles and triumphs, of giants and humans living in harmony. In the distance, she could see the faint glow of what she assumed was the chamber where the Earth's power lay. The journey ahead was fraught with danger, but she felt a strange sense of belonging, as if she had been born for this very moment. With newfound resolve, she took a step forward, and the cavern floor trembled beneath her. The whispers grew louder, urging her to hurry. She knew she didn't have much time. As she walked, the air grew thicker, and the temperature rose, a testament to her proximity to the planet's fiery core. The path grew more treacherous, with jagged rocks and narrow bridges spanning deep, lava-filled chasms. But she was not deterred. She had read of such perils in her books, and she was ready to face them. The walls of the cavern began to close in, and she could feel the pressure building around her. Her breath grew short, and the weight of the earth above seemed to press down on her shoulders. Yet she pushed on, her determination unwavering. The whispers grew clearer now, guiding her through the twisting labyrinth. She heard the echoes of distant battles, the cries of the ancient giants, and the whispers of the earth itself, begging for protection. As she approached the chamber, she noticed the glow grew more intense, casting eerie shadows that danced on the walls. The whispers grew urgent, and she broke into a run, her feet sure and swift, despite the treacherous ground. The chamber was vast, the air heavy with power and the scent of ancient magic. In the center stood a pedestal, upon which rested the heart of the earth, a pulsating crystal, the size of a boulder, radiating energy that made the very air crackle. The moment she saw the crystal, she knew what she had to do. The whispers grew to a crescendo, and she felt a rush of energy flow into her, as if the earth itself was willing her to act. She approached the pedestal, her hand outstretched, ready to claim her role as protector. But as she reached for the crystal, the ground beneath her trembled violently. The walls of the chamber cracked, and the air grew thick with dust. The whispers grew into a roar, and the images in her mind grew chaotic. Through the dust, she saw dark, shadowy figures emerging from the cracks, their forms twisted and grotesque. They were unlike anything she had ever seen, a nightmarish amalgamation of rock and earth, driven by malice and greed. These were the unseen forces the giants had warned her about, and they were here to claim the Earth's power for themselves. With a surge of courage, Luna reached for the crystal once more. But as her fingertips grazed its surface, a blast of cold energy threw her back. She landed hard. The wind knocked out of her. The shadows grew closer, their malicious intent palpable. They hissed and snarled, their eyes glowing like embers in the dark. The giants had not anticipated this level of resistance. They had underestimated the desperation of their foes. The whispers grew frenzied in her mind, telling her that she had to find a way to harness the power of the crystal without letting the shadows claim it. As she struggled to stand, she noticed the glowing trees around the chamber's edge. Their light had dimmed with the shadow's approach, but they remained steadfast, a beacon of hope in the gloom. An idea took root in her thoughts. Perhaps the trees held the key to victory. Summoning every ounce of her will, Luna pushed herself up and sprinted towards the trees. The shadows pursued, their claws scraping against the cavern floor, sending echoes of malevolence through the air. She reached the first tree, its trunk thick and comforting under her touch. The whispers grew louder, and she understood. She needed to connect the trees to the crystal, to create a barrier of light and life to repel the invaders. Her hand trembled as she placed it on the tree's trunk. The bark was warm and pulsing, resonating with the energy of the earth. She closed her eyes, focusing her thoughts, and felt a surge of power flow from the tree into her. It filled her with a warmth that spread throughout her body, pushing back the fear that threatened to consume her. With a deep breath, she reached out to the crystal, her mind's eye seeing the web of energy that linked it to the trees. The shadows grew closer, their cacophony of malicious laughter ringing in her ears. But Luna was undeterred. She visualized a beam of light extending from the tree, reaching out to the crystal. Slowly, the light grew stronger, and the shadows recoiled, their forms contorting in pain. With each step she took towards the pedestal, she connected more trees, each one bolstering the barrier. The cavern was now a battleground of light and dark, the air charged with the clash of opposing forces. The crystal pulsed brighter as she approached, its power resonating with her own. When she was close enough, she placed both her palms on its surface, feeling the energy surge through her veins like liquid fire. The shadows howled, their forms wavering as the light grew stronger. The whispers grew into a chant, guiding her, empowering her. With a final desperate effort, she pulled the light from the trees into the crystal, creating a beacon so brilliant that it illuminated every corner of the chamber. The shadows retreated, their cries of rage echoing off the cavern walls. The giant's whispers grew quiet, and Luna could feel their hopes swelling within her. The crystal vibrated under her touch, and she knew she had done it. She had linked the ancient trees with the earth's core, creating a barrier of pure, unyielding power. The shadows could not withstand the light, and one by one, they were driven back into the cracks from which they had emerged. The ground stilled, the dust settled, and the cavern grew quiet once more. Luna took a moment to catch her breath, her heart racing like a wild horse. She looked around the chamber, the trees now glowing with a newfound vitality. The crystal at the center pulsed in time with her heartbeat, a testament to her newfound bond with the earth. The whispers grew softer, a gentle patter like raindrops on leaves as the giants communicated their gratitude. They had entrusted her with a great responsibility, and she had not let them down. Thank you for your time. God bless